Nama Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tanamani Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Maharaj, we finished 16. I'll move for that.
Yeah, 16. So we'll have a brief look at 17. We're sticking to our theme, which was the lotus, the city, and the sun. Okay. Now, just to finish up that little area, text 17 then, I'll read it. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So this summer, I was noticing in the nighttime, because I spent a lot of time out in the evening when it was a little cooler. It was such a hot summer, it was hard to be out during the day. So I'm not sure what you Floridians went through, but it must have been grueling sometimes. But in the nighttime in the sky, kind of in the southerly direction, you could see clearly Jupiter and Saturn, and they were quite close to each other. And then you could see more recently Mars came up into the picture. It was a little further away, more east, but you had these three planets, they were visible. And in a sense, they were lined up. So when we look at these items that are listed here in verse 17, delivered by Krishna, you can say they're all lined up. They're put in a line, in queue. And that is one's intelligence, which is the buddhi, one's mind, the mana. Faith is an important ingredient, or shraddha. And then we also have refuge, or the sense of surrender. When you have the right mentality and everything's lined up, it's understood that then you're getting clean. You're getting clean, and you can then approach liberation. So the word here is apuna avritim, liberation. So this is important. It's a little bit like the kundalini rising, prana rising through the different chakras. They're all kind of lined up. And I remember when I was doing my long walks, I would be looking at the map, and most of the population in Canada, it's all kind of near the American border, and just where the weather is a little more conducive for living. So most of the roads go east-west, some will go north-south, but major roads go east-west, and all the towns would be lined up. So you'd be driving through all of them, or in my case, walking. And I would like to think that when we got to a new town, the town would light up, just because we brought the Mahamantra with us. So this is kind of an important element to look at. We are striving for liberation. We are striving to get out of this world and out of this mortal existence and gain freedom. That is the objective. Mind you, some people might be thinking otherwise, that you have Like one devotee was asking a group of people that were in his class, he said, so how many people want to go to Vaikuntha? And then a bunch of hands were raised. And then he said, oh, that's not right. We're supposed to go to Goloka Vrindavan. We're supposed to go to where Krishna resides. So Vaikuntha is not good enough. And then I was thinking about the third option. If you want to talk about options, I was thinking about the option of, well, why not come back into this world again and connect with Prabhupada's mission? Let's be with him. Let's be in a place, a spot where we can again be disseminating knowledge and helping the conditioned souls. His mission, Prabhupada's mission, is to actually identify those who are needing, and that's pretty much everybody, but those who especially take a liking to this process and want to give it a chance, says, I would like to be there personally. I have no regrets about being in Prabhupada's mission and his movement, ISKCON. I just find it's the safest place to be, even though it has faults, like any institution, like any marriage, like any relationship. It's not perfect because we're in this world of this mortal world of challenges, of difficulties. So therefore, you cannot expect perfection here in this world. But I feel that that's an option that I would aspire to go down that path, the path of Krishna consciousness. Yes.
Okay. So when you were saying the third option or one of the options being coming back to help in for Prabhupada in his movement, I was talking with discussing this with one very senior disciple of Prabhupada. I mean, she's a scholar and a great devotee, Narayani Mataji. She was saying that Prabhupada taught us only to pray to go back to Godhead and not the way you are saying. So
well, this is back to Godhead. Chanting Krishna's name, being in Prabhupada's lotus feet, it's back to Godhead as far as I'm concerned. It's Godhead that's reaching out to us and it's stretched out to. So there. Next time I see Narayani, I will have a nice debate with her. All right. So anyways, it's important to line up everything and get it all hooked up to Krishna, put it all in there. Just like if you're putting together a big festival to honor Krishna's birth or whatever, you have to set up everything that it's all geared towards his pleasure, right? The food you're cooking, the puja, the discussions, and being ready to receive the devotees, everything's directed towards Krishna. Right. So anything, let us move along then. And we're going to go to, there's at least 3 shlokas now that we're going to embark upon, and it's 18, 19, and 20. And we're putting that under the theme of equal vision, okay? Equal vision. So I'll be very honest with you, like I know a lot of devotees maybe have a favorite shloka from Bhagavad Gita, 1 or 2 or 3 that they really enjoy. So for me, this is probably one of my very favorites. It is 5:18, and Vidyavinaya Sambhani, Brahmani Gavahaschini, Shuni Chaiva Swapakija, Pandita Samadarshina. And I think a lot of people can relate to this shloka because we're talking about animals. There's lots of animal lovers out there. And I can remember when I was a kid, I liked elephants and turtles. They were my favorite animals. Talking about favorite verses and favorite animals. We were raised in southwestern Ontario. There were a lot of beautiful painted turtles. There were lots of, we didn't have elephants, mind you, but a lot of snapping turtles, huge snapping turtles, and they looked so prehistoric. They were so cool looking, you know. And so this verse, which expresses equal vision, goes like this: a humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, you know, somebody who is in knowledge will see the world like this. He will see a wise person, a cow, you know, we're talking about now subhuman, cow, an elephant, a dog, you know, three illustrations of mammal animals. And then quite like, say, an opposite direction, you have a man who eats the dog, like a chandala, is a term that's used in the Shastra so much. Chandala. It's kind of a lower, more humble kind of person who eats animals, especially a dog. Like that would be, it's a horrific thought for anybody in the West. Eating cow, pig, chicken, it's okay. But when it comes to the dog, our dear precious dog, that is low class. But in a place like India, if you eat a cow which is revered like anything, then that is considered low class by certain sectors of society. Now, what we are to understand from this shloka is that we are to have equal vision because despite the body size or the body shape, one should, and in this case, we're talking about a cow has hair, an elephant does not, he's got thick skin, but a dog has hair. We could just as well choose an animal that's got feathers or scales or, you know, just different forms of very leathery skin. They're all the same. They're all the same. In the sense that there's this Atma there, and of course there's Paramatma there. Two Kshetragyas, two living organisms that are of a spiritual nature. So the Atma is that. It's known as the Kshetragya, the knower of the body. And there's a second one, or let's say the premier one, which is the super soul, the Paramatma, the superior soul. So that's why we must see everything with equal vision, because wherever you look in this world, especially in the natural world, you can appreciate that there is Atma there. The spirit is there. So that's why there's equality when it comes to looking at things physically. Everything's different. Let's say they complement each other. Let's not say higher or lower, but just let's say complement. When also trying to describe the Varnashram system, that you have Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, if you speak from the platform that better or lower, higher or lower, you'll lose your audience very fast. But if you start talking about complementing, then, okay, I get it. You know? And that's what I know we were talking about male, female, they complement each other. It's not a matter of higher or lower, really. So from the spiritual perspective, this is the way to look. And, you know, even let's say somebody's got a high IQ. One of my godbrothers here in Canada, he has a brother with super high IQ. He's a really well-known established scientist. So you can say he's way up there. He's lofty. But what about the person who doesn't have a high IQ? So the person who's, let's say, is brilliant in terms of intelligence level. His role is to come to the level of the person who doesn't quite have that quality or asset. When he comes to the level of serving that person. It makes everything equal. So it's through service that we gain equality. It's through service that it's through equal vision that equality is established, equanimity and so on. Everybody agree?
I have a question, Maharaj.
Okay.
I think this sloga can be used to argue about the big racism debate going on in America. I
Yeah.
think the sloga is probably the only way to probably confront it, right?
Yeah, I think you can tag on any area where there's considered to be equality. We can point to this shloka, this verse, and help them to understand this is one of the essential, values that we have in our Krishna consciousness. Everyone's spiritually the same. Physically, we may be somewhat different, complementary, but let us look to the spirit within. Yeah. Okay, so I just explained to you that's my favorite shloka. One of my favorite anyway. Shall we go to 19? Sankalpa, would you like to read that one? Would you like to help us by reading that one? 19.
Okay. Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman.
Okay, this word Brahman is very important to us because it indicates, spirituality, just to put it in a simple one word category. We don't need to shy away from this Brahman because it pops up all over the Gita. It just means that one is spiritual. And some of the, let's say, traits of somebody who's on the Brahman platform or the Brahma Bhuta stage is what is the term that's used sometimes, is somebody who sees with equanimity as equal vision. Let's call him, he's an equal visioner. And that means that he's conquered over good and bad, the thoughts of good and bad, hot, heat and cold. Like this whole idea about dualities that's expressed in the beginning of the Gita, Matra Sparshas Kontiya, Shitoshna, Sukudukada, Agamapahanamyajas, Tangstatikshaswa, Tangstatikshaswa. That means being very tolerant of that which, where dualities are display themselves. So hankering and lamenting, for instance, is one idea of dualities. That hankering means we have strong desires, and lamentation means that we are feeling forlorn, we're feeling sad. So whether sad or whether glad, we want to simply come to the Brahma Bhuta stage, and so everyone feels a justification behind being sad, like say, for instance, you don't do so well in your exam or something like that, testing. That there's no need to be too overwhelmed by that. And sadness can come about. It can be, let's say, an impetus to be glad because, okay, I didn't do so well this time around. I'll try again. And but generally speaking, we don't want to go extreme in our emotions, that because that always leads to a crash. Let's say you're super elated, super happy about something that you've achieved. All I can say is this: watch out, what Krishna is saying. Be careful. Be careful with that, because you might come down with a crash landing, and therefore try to keep that position of being equipoised, And so that's the advice that's being given. Again, equal vision, because these things arise from sense perception, hot and cold, fame, infamy, etc., etc. They arise from a sense perception. And the senses are not permanent. They're not real. Our emotions are also not real. And I think I might have told you this story before. This goes back about 6, 7 years ago. This young sort of Oriental fellow, he was like an emo boy, I guess you call him. He ran after me. I was at a prominent intersection, and I stopped at the lights. I was ready to cross. And he saw me with my robes, and he saw me with the particular footwear I had on at that time. And I guess he was very fashion conscious. You know, his hair was combed to the side like this, and he was all in black. And they call them emo boys, right? So anyways, I didn't even know what an emo boy was until I met this guy. He said, excuse me. He stopped and he was panting because he wanted to tell me this important information that I needed to know. I needed to be informed, even enlightened. And he stopped and he said, excuse me. He said, at least he was nice about it. He said, yes. He said, I just want to let you know that your clothes, your robes, the shoes don't go with your robes. And so I said, okay, well, more or less I was saying this is just all sense perception. I was saying, well, you see, the thing is that you're looking at externals. It's just externals. But we have to understand we're not these bodies. We're spirits within the body. And in that way, we're all the same. All of us here, all these people on the street, we must see each other with equanimity. And that we're all really the same. And he was, kind of was puzzled. Oh, I think I hit him hard with a message that he had not heard before, and getting beyond this,
He gave you
fashion statement culture that we sometimes live in. You have to get beyond that. You have to transcend, and more or less get to the Brahmabhut stage, which is the phrase that we sometimes use.
He gave you an opening right there for you to hit him hard.
Yeah. I kind of liked him coming, and there was a little small part of me that said, "Oh, you mean I'm not hip? I'm not cool enough for you?" But then it gave me an opportunity to say something. Good. So let us move along. Anything else you like to say? Yes, go ahead.
We have a saying in our language that you give somebody a stick to be beaten by the same stick. That's what you hand a stick to somebody and get beaten by the same stick.
Yeah. We always do this little kirtan at the end of the day here outside the temple at 7 o'clock. It's already kind of dark, but we're sitting under a lamppost. And yesterday, David, who lives in the temple with us, he's like a sort of musician master, jack of all trades in some way. He brought out these, these really nice, I think it was rosewood sticks that they play in Latino music. You got to hit it in the middle. It's a really beautiful sound. It's hardwood and it's glossy, varnished really well. And I was just thinking, two sticks together make nice music. Yes, good. Thank you for that. I saw Prahlad peeking there in the back, and I offer him my respects. Haribol, Prahlad.
Gopal.
And Gopal in the other house, yes. Gopal and Prahlad. So let us look at text 20 then. Gopal, would you like to read 20? I see you there right now. Nice and loud and clear.
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the science of God, is already situated in transcendence.
And I really appreciate you reading it and also how you read it. You read it with equanimity. You read it as if, there's no strong emotions. you just deliver the news. You are like a broadcaster, you know. You just said it nice, succinct, and to the point, you know. And that's the way we should be receiving information about the Absolute. So again, this verse here, it's an endorsement towards the Brahmabhut stage, the stage of transcendence. And if you look at the shloka, you'll see the word is used, Brahmavid. That means having the knowledge of Brahman, of the spirit. And then Brahmani refers to, your Prabhupada translates it as transcendence. So these three verses that we just went through all speak about Brahmabhut, you know, or transcendence, you know, going beyond, looking beyond, and having a vision beyond the body, you know, whether, you know, and of course, everybody takes notice of a, you know, a gorgeous man or a gorgeous woman. You know, their form is beautiful, everything about them, the way they walk, you know. There are some people blessed by karma. The problem with that sometimes is that they get so over attention, too much attention, and they know how good they are, how good they look, and that can be, let's say, stir up this bodily consciousness. And then sometimes you have this case where everybody knows the story about the elephant man. Is that right? Did I say it right? Yeah. From London. He had this distorted body, very deformed face, and he would, in order to survive, he would have to have this, you know, he would be part of these freak shows. And this way people would look at him and gawk at him, stare at him, because he was extremely ugly, you know, to the point where it was almost unbelievable. A creature from another planet, another world, another soul. It's a very sad story about this gentleman. And when he traveled sometimes, he'd have to put a bag over his head, you know, to move around. And one time he was traveling in the streets of London, whatever money he had, someone stole it and took it away. So getting all this attention from people, you know, whether you're, you know, on one opposite ends of the stick, extremely beautiful to the point of, you know, almost hideous looking, it does draw attention. And the only thing that can really work for such people in these extremities is this knowledge. Understand, I'm not this body, I'm the spirit. And there's something to be said about somebody who's like a ravishing beauty or a handsome hunk or something like that. They will lose their beauty at some point in time through age. I mean, some people age really good. They stay young. They look good throughout their whole life. Like, I'm just thinking about somebody like a Paul Newman or somebody with a film star from, and he looked good all the time. You know, didn't matter. But in general, people lose their vibrancy in time. Time is what kind of kills and takes away, robs us of our strong points, you know. And if we always keep in mind that phase of the Brahmabhut, that vision, that objective in life, then we will not be so torn, troubled, and tortured by the physical changes that can haunt us, you know. So let us not be haunted. I can say that because Halloween is soon approaching and people want to see ugly and horrific things. So, keep your eye on the pumpkin, you know. Keep your eye on the pumpkin, the beautiful orange. It's like the most beautiful color, so welcoming, and so on like that. A pumpkin is a vegetable that is envied for its color and its taste. And I was talking about favorite verses. I'll tell you one of my favorite desserts. It's pumpkin pie.
Oh.
All right. So does anybody have any comments on with regards to the last 3 shlokas before we move on to the next? You can browse through them, and I just wanted to say that I would really try to learn this shloka, this 5:18, because it really hits home on truth. And also, if you're trying to explain to a newcomer to Krishna consciousness, it's just a nice verse to express. Here's something from the Gita that you can fix your mind on. It helps you to understand one of the essential truths. Okay, good. If there's no comments, then we'll move on to the next. Is Arjuna there that he can help us out to?
Haribol, I'm here.
Yeah, Arjuna, do you want to give us the next shloka?
Yes, Maharaj.
21. Yeah.
Yes. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always entranced, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme.
Okay. So what we would like to do for you, Prabhu, is to understand that we're going under the theme for the next few shlokas from 21 on, and we'll call pleasures within. Or I'm sorry, pleasure within. All right. So everyone wants pleasure. The famous phrase that Prabhupada's given us is Anandamayo Vyasat. That means that pleasure is something that everyone seeks, and it's natural. Everybody's looking for it. Let's say you have no interest in transcendence. Let's say you have no interest in spirituality, but you will admit, I want enjoyment. I want to have fun. Okay, fun can be had, but if you want, if you ask somebody honestly, tell me, how much fun do you want? Said, I always want to have fun. Okay, great, fantastic. It's there to be achieved. It's available on the market, but you have to take to a spiritual approach, because all that fun that everybody's aspiring for has a beginning and has an end in this mundane world. Anything to do with the senses, contacting sense objects, Vishayan, that's the term in Sanskrit, Vishayan, it has a beginning and it has an end. So we're making you beware of the fact that if you want to have fun and you want it to be consistent, then you have to acquire this vision, equal vision, and always act on the platform of transcendence. So that's essential. Okay. So Arjuna read nicely to us. He was talking about not being attracted to the temporary, but to be in a kind of a trance. Again, that vision of equanimity and enjoying the pleasure within. Pleasure, most of you know the Sanskrit word sukham, and the word that's used atmani, that is within the self. So enjoyment within the self. Sukham, by the way, appears twice in this shloka. 2 times it is given to us. And when something is repeated, it's done for emphasis. And how does emphasis, how does happiness, how is it derived? From concentrating on the Supreme. Okay, so I think we can go to 22 then. This is a real nice shloka. And I think that this also is very profound and can, people can gravitate to this one. And I love the sound of in the Sanskrit. Yehi sangsparshya bhoga dukkha yonaya evati ajantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Is there somebody who'd like to give us the translation on this? Somebody who hasn't had a chance yet?
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them.
Right. And again, I would say we're using that term Buddha, that is someone who's very bright and very intelligent, has a certain vision. And his or her vision is that just by taking the sense object and the senses and having them meet, it doesn't mean that there's satisfaction. Stimulation, very temporary, but it is not long lasting. It's just like one devotee, I don't know if you know Chiru, he's a Prabhupada disciple. He was giving a class once years ago. He was saying that like sensual pleasure, especially sex life, it's really a contact of like two cars with their bumpers coming and just rubbing together. You know, like steel. Of course, cars these days don't have steel anymore, do they? I don't think so. They were,
It's fiberglass.
it's fiberglass. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know. So let's say steel or fiberglass coming together, rubbing together. Is there really any sensation there? So in this way, we can appreciate the fact that pleasures are not going to be derived from the exterior, but rather it will come from the interior. So beginning and end, that's not my idea of happiness, right? So this is what Krishna is saying, that true joy, true beatitude comes from, it has to come from within. And I heard this analogy once. I mean, there's one deer, you know, he gets excited during mating season, and then he's emitting this scent of musk, and he's wondering where's it coming from, you know, from his glands, and he's just wondering where is it? Where do I find this? What's the source of it? And he doesn't realize it. He's got it on himself. He's carrying it himself. You know, he's got it. So the point is, it's a nice analogy. It's always nice to bring animals into the picture. So we can appreciate that pleasure is within, and looking through the exterior of things, you might as well say, forget it, forget it. If you want a little buzz, okay, but if you want true joy, then you have to go deeper. You know, real joy comes from a deeper source. Any comments on that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So people eventually come to the platform after they realize that the material senses are not giving them eternal pleasure. People, do they always have to go through that route, or they somebody who is already taken up, accepted the fact? Wouldn't they have that lingering thought in their mind that what did I give up?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is if somebody has already hit that point and gained that realization that this world is not so, you know, made out what it's meant to be. It's there's pleasure here, but there seems to be a lot more pain. So you're asking, does the person have to come back? Well, it's understood, whatever you've gained that's profound in this world, it should be something that you will carry in the next life, and the next successive life should be more progressive. Yeah, more progressive. And so there's no need to lament. And let's go back to something that Arjuna had asked Krishna. Whatever I have gained in this life, will it be lost? Will I be like a riven cloud? As I know we came to that. So, will I be like a cloud that will be pushed away by the current, the air current, and be forgotten forever? And Krishna says, no, you will always be remembered. And whatever you have done that's good in your life will be, you will be able to carry with you in the next, whatever you have achieved. Shuchinam Srimatam Gehi Yogo Brashto Vijayate. That means if you've done pious works, punya in the past, or if you've hit a mark of brilliance, like realization, generally the rule is that you will jump up, you go a notch above where you were before, and you'll slowly, incrementally progress in life. So you're getting closer and closer to liberation. So there's Krishna gives the assurance, don't lament. You know, you are just progressing. That's all. Okay. All right. So I think we can move then to the next verse. Who didn't have a chance yet to read something? I don't even know who's with us still.
I haven't read yet, Mars.
Oh, you're back on track.
Yeah, sorry, Mars. I just got back late from work and I didn't have data.
Okay, I hope work was nice.
Yes, yeah, it was nice. So I will read. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world.
Good, good. Again, we're talking about joy, happiness. That has to come from within. It is aroused by being tolerant. It says here, tolerating the urges of the material senses and checking the forces of anger or desire and anger, which are two of the three gateways that lead us to hell, according to the 16.
You're on mute, Maharaj.
You probably missed because somebody was trying to phone in.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'll just express that again. Lust and anger are greed. Those three elements are identified in chapter 16 as gateways to hell. And so two of those are expressed here. Krodha, which is anger, and kama, desire or lust. And so if they are checked, then one has a chance towards this deeper happiness. If we cannot check our kama or our anger, there will be lots of woes. There will be lots of sadness that we will encounter. So to get the optimum satisfaction in life, one has to simply make sure one checks the imbalances. And Prabhupada mentions that in the 7 purposes of ISKCON. Anybody who's a member of the Hare Krishna movement has to take a look at that and say that our objective is to help to check the imbalanced lives of people. And the reason why it's imbalanced is because people succumb to desire and anger. In fact, it's actually encouraged so much. These degrees of passion, you can say it's passion. Desires, very passionate. Anger, as it is expressed here, it's also passionate when exhibited. But the end result of anger because that can be destructive. And then destruction is an element of tamas, mode of ignorance, right? And everybody knows here that these three modes of material nature, we have to keep an eye on those guys. We have to be very vigilant about how they are affecting us and influencing us. Okay, so this is another verse which helps us to understand the pleasure within. Good. Thank you very much for that, Mandala Ram, and reading it so expressively. Okay. So let's go to 24 then. I'm just looking at the time here. Got 10 minutes left. Okay. So we may not necessarily get to the end of this chapter, which to me is fine. Shall we do one more verse?
Yeah. Satya, you want to read?
Please, Satya.
Dandavats, I can read.
Oh, Nandini Kishore, yes, go ahead.
One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme.
Right. So with that word being repeated within, and Prabhupada's translation, you can understand why we came up with this theme here for these string of verses. Within always sounds good, you know. It's just a term that is very gratifying because, again, the external tends to let us down, and therefore we seek joy from within. So what we really need to accomplish, or in our exercise to get to that enjoyment from within, we need to be careful to check those imbalances we discussed previous verse. When we're chanting Hare Krishna, for instance, we look at the 10 offenses. Some of them are a little more relevant than the others. And if you actually can do a good round of chanting Hare Krishna on your beads, you will feel satisfied. You'll feel blissful. You'll feel at least aloof. Maybe just touching the surface, scratching the surface of what we call Brahmabhut. So when chanting Hare Krishna, and not just through the chanting, but all the services that we do, whatever we carry out functionally in this world, we want to be careful not to fall prey to the 10 offenses. And the first offense is to blaspheme and to think ill of others who are trying to make an effort to become spiritual. Anybody who's trying, we cannot think ill of them. It's the elephant offense. It's the big one. You don't want to get caught in that trap. So do not think ill of other devotees. Reflect more on the positive, the strong points, not the weak ones. The weak ones will dissolve if we encourage strength, right? That's a fact. Encourage people and highlight what good someone has done in the way of devotional service. Then you can start on a momentum. But if a momentum of bhakti is not, let's say, started, or let's say it's the initiative is there, but it needs to get it to a level of a steady momentum, then it requires encouragement along the way. So devotees have to be cheerleaders, in regards to our, endeavor in devotional service in our communities. It's important to recognize how everyone is doing a nice job, even if they're doing lousy. Just somehow or other, sometimes you really have to work hard, to find where's the good point in this person. I can't really find it, but find that little speck, find that little part, and just blow it up if you have to. Anything that's going to make somebody feel good. And we do live in a world of a lot of depression, especially these days with COVID the way it is, and all the riots and things that are all the discontentedness. It's just, look, the people react like this oftentimes because, let's say the anger, because they're just not loved enough. They haven't experienced enough encouragement. And so that is something to consider. Look at the spark, give it some oxygen, throw it in its way, that oxygen towards the spark, and it'll light up. It'll be combustible. It'll just expand. And that's a big part of our devotional obligation, is to not just look at what I can do, my happiness. What is the happiness of others? When we see others happy, I can be happy. But if I just look at my own happiness and I don't consider what's going to be satisfactory for others, then I'm standing alone. Who wants to be alone in this world? Hare Krishna. Right. So that's text 24, and we just have a few more to do for the next time that we get together. And we will also end up with the last shloka, which is also a prized verse, 29. It is what Prabhupada refers to as the peace formula. Another verse that you could learn that's on the top, should be on the top of the list. Top 10. I give it top 10. So you can, get a little preview, look at that one. But anyways, it will end up with that particular verse ends up with the word peace, Shantim, and when you have peace, then there is pleasure within. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments from any of you?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My obeisances, all glories to you and Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. And so with regards to, fanning the spark of every individual, not criticizing and not, maybe falling into those habits, what happens if you come across, say, senior devotees and, maybe they have that tendency to, maybe critique or criticize a little too heavy? How should we deal with that? Should we, just step away, or should we, we're not in any position to just say, we should encourage instead of discourage?
Yeah. Well, you can't change another person, but you can change yourself. And one thing that if somebody comes a little bit too hard and heavy, you can say, well, look at what they're saying, not so much the inflections. How are they saying it? So there's a couple of lessons you can learn for that. Okay, let me get to the essence of what they're saying. And in most cases, yeah, they're right. Okay. And then secondly, the heavy-handedness, the harsh approach said, well, they're doing that and it didn't make me feel too good. I can learn from that person not to be harsh and heavy with others. So that's why if it makes you feel really bad, I said, I don't want to make people feel bad, but I'm going to get to the essence of it. What is the core message here? And apply it.
That's great, Maharaj. Thank you. That's perfect.
Well, let's say you've got seniors around you. They never say anything. They never say anything at all. They're you do something rotten, and they say, yeah, whatever. If you don't have any correction in your life, you don't have a life. And if that becomes the norm, you'll apply it to others as well. So just like you have your daughter, she's going to be in a situation where you have to correct, right? And if she grows up being a nonsense, who's to blame? You.
Me.
Yeah, you can't blame it on her. So that's all I know. You know, that's all I know. That's what my dad taught me. That everything's okay. So correction has to be there. That's the role of the parent. That's the role of the guru. But, you know, do it in a nice way. Do it in a way that's sweet, you know. I mean, so you're offering medicine. Put a little honey on the tip of it. So thank you for the question. Anybody else? I see Nandini Kishori Devidasi. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being on board.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so we want to thank you all for coming on board. I'm personally relishing this very much every week to get together with you all. And I hope it's very stimulating for me. I am enjoying just a little touch. I'm getting a little pleasure with you from communicating with you all. All right.
Thank you. We also like this, Maharaj. I think we are actually benefiting more.
I was wondering what to do, Maharaj.
Well, I just want to tell you what to do. And I'm saying to you, I'm very much liking very much, very much. Either this way or that way. I'm not figured out the best way to do it. Okay, thank you. Haribol, take care.
Krishna,
Thank you so much,
Next
Maharaj,
week.
for giving us
Video.
inspiration.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.